Hi, this is Tom, and in this video, this is lesson 14, the mean and the mode, and what we're going to do is we are going to calculate both of those. And this video introduces our first idea of what we call a statistic, which seems fitting considering this is the class pre-statistics. So a statistic is a measure to describe, is a measure to describe some attribute, of a set of data. And arguably, the most famous of all statistics, and maybe even the most used statistic, is the mean as a way to represent, as a way to characterize or measure data. And oftentimes we've seen our grades when we were students in a class are based on a mean, an average of our grades. So we're going to review how we find that here, and then we're going to take a look at a couple different examples. So the first thing we want to do is we add all the data. Add all the data. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to represent, we use the letter X, and we'll either see it written, I usually write mine like that, kind of a script X. Some texts you'll see it, for some statistics book, you'll see a capital X. Either one is fine. But we use the letter X to represent all the individual data values. All the individual data values. So for example, up here, these are my x's. So one of my possible x's is 1, and then another possible x is 5. Another possible x from my data set is 8, and so on. And you can go through all 10 values there to find all of those are represented by an x. And so what we do is we use this notation. So to add all the data, we use this symbol, this capital, kind of a funny looking E, and this is the Greek letter sigma. And in math, it means to sum or add. So when I write this, in math notation, we'd write, find the sum of all of the x's. And what that means is we go, each individual value we'll consider. So I take the 1 plus the 5 plus the 8 up above plus the 4 plus the 11 plus the 3 plus another 3 plus a 6 plus a 20 plus 12. And if you do all of that, you add all those values, you find out they sum, we'd use the word sum, they sum to 73. But that's not the mean. So the next step is divide the sum by the number of data. By the number of data. So let's take a look. In this set, it looks like I have, if you come up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's 2 rows of 5, so I have 10 data values. So what I would do is I would take the 73 and I would divide it by 10, and this would give me the result of 7.3. So a couple more things then. We represent the mean. The character we use is x. with a bar over it. And that's exactly what we call it. We call it X bar. And it represents the mean of the data. The mean of the data set. Okay. Also, the general formula for the mean, it looks like this. It looks like X bar equals the sum of all the x's divided by n. You may see it written this way, or sometimes you'll see it written as the fraction 1 over n times the sum of all the x's. And what I'd like to do here is let's just write this out. If you were going to write this out using the formula, what you would do is you would write this. You'd write X bar equals, and then you'd write 1 plus 5 plus 8 plus 4 plus 11 plus 3 plus 3 plus 6 plus 20 plus 12, and you put all of that over 10. You'd add that up. This would give you 73 divided by 10, or 7.3. And if I use the other format of the formula, it would look like this. It'd look like X bar equals, so my n is, oh, and I forgot to tell you that n, the letter n, is used to represent the number of data. The number of data. So I would write this as 1/10 times, and then we'd write all of this out again. And so we would just take all of this here, all of that, and we'd put it just like that into our formula. And so now we have 1/10 times 73, and again we get the answer of 7.3. Okay. Now, a couple things to note is rounding for the mean. Rounding for the mean. And the rule is if you have the data and then you calculate the mean, you use 1 decimal more than the data. So we round to 1 decimal more than the data. Now, in the example that we just did, our data was in whole numbers, our mean came out to tenths, and so there was no rounding that needed to be done. So let's take a look here at an example where in fact we do need to round. So I'll just stop about there, and let's try this. We're going to find the mean of the following set. Find the mean of, here we go, we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, 5, 0. Okay, so let's try this. So then I'm going to write this as X bar equals, and I like the big fraction, so I'll write this as 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1 plus 4 plus 5 plus 0, and all that. And then notice now I have 8 data values, so here there's 8 values. So that's our n. N is 8. So divide this by 8. So let me see. If I do all that, I have 1 plus 1, that's 2. 2 more is 4, plus 3 is 7, plus 1 more is 8, plus 4 is 12, And then if we add all that up, let's see, we have, sorry, I lost track, 4, 7, 8, 12. 12 plus 5 is 17. Divided by 8, this is going to give me 2.125. Now, if I write it like that, that's actually the exact decimal, because that is actually 17/8 written in decimal form. But that doesn't hold to our rounding rule. So what we would do is we would say that x bar, the mean, equals, and then, so our data is in whole numbers, so I would need to round just to the 10th. That's where I would round. And so I would say that x bar is 2.1. Now, if I was earlier in the semester, we talked about the difference of once you round, technically you're writing an approximation for x, so you should use the squiggly marks and write 2.1, but common practice just dictates that we would write it this way. X bar equals 2.1. And let's pause there. In the next video, actually, no, let's do one more thing. We have this perfect set of data for us, the mode. Let's take a look at the mode. And the mode is the most frequently occurring data value. Most frequently occurring data values. Now, let's take a look at this data set right up here. I'm going to just copy it and bring it down so that we can, we're not looking around. Copy, and let's just put this down below here. Paste. So if I want to look at this data set right here, notice that the ones, look at how many ones I have. Here's a 1, got another 1, got another 1. So I have 3 ones. So we would say that the mode is 3. Now, there's one exception that does happen, and that is this. If each data value occurs exactly once, meaning no repeats, occurs exactly once, we say there is no mode. There is no mode. We'll stop there, and we're going to finish this lesson in the next video, and we will be finding the mean of a frequency distribution. Hope that helps, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.